It is Locked On NBA Game Night for the night of Wednesday, October 29th. On today's show, the Celtics get a statement win, Austin Reaves hits a game winner, and why we're already hitting the panic button on the New Orleans Pelicans.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night, tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg, and joining me as he does every Wednesday night, it's Tony East. We'll talk more about eye-popping stats from Nikola Jokic and Austin Reaves' game winner here in a second, but let's start in Cleveland, where the Celtics won their second game in a row after starting the season 0-3. Jaylen Brown was the star of the game. Here is John Corrales from Locked On Celtics with more.
Celtics get a huge win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. A rare win against a good team for the Celtics. Thank you to the Cavaliers for not crashing the boards until it was much too late. For Donovan Mitchell kind of disappearing after the first quarter. And for Evan Mobley just kind of taking the night off. The Celtics took advantage of that. He got a great night from Peyton Pritchard. I thought he was really good in just distributing and running the offense. Got to shout out Josh Minott. His energy late in the game was a real difference maker. The Cavs made a run late in the third. They were trying to make their runs in the fourth. They started to get those second chance points, but Minott was in there rebounding, being a pest defensively, and the Celtics hit shots. It's just a different situation for the Celtics when you hit shots. They shot a little less than 40% in the end, but we're shooting basically 40% throughout the whole game. When the Celtics do that, that masks a lot of their deficiencies, and they can get wins like this. So this is huge because the Celtics are in a tough stretch to start this season. To beat a good team like the Cavs is a big confidence boost. You head into Philly, you kind of carry some of that momentum. You get 2 wins in a row, something to build on. And if the Celtics are going to be a playoff team, if they're going to try to fight for one of those like 6 seeds, these are the games you need to win.
Tony, should the Celtics be feeling better about themselves after this one?
Yeah, they should. They won. I mean, they came up short in Detroit. They've had some not so exciting performances earlier this season, right? Where, they were competitive at times and not competitive at others. And then they were just way better than the Cavs today. And I think the Cavs will say this basically until he returns, just like, whatever. Like until Darius Garland is back on the floor, it's not that important to us, these specific results or how anybody's doing. But I think John was actually right on a lot of all that for them, where like Evan Mobley couldn't make anything on a jumper, and he's been really hunting his shot in a meaningful way this season. DeAndre Hunter was off on a bunch of jumpers, and the Cavs bench gave them next to nothing, and the Celtics were just straight up better than them, right? So that's big for the Celtics to know that even, yes, without an all-star level talent, they can be much better than the Cavs and potentially be a decent team this year.
I'm not buying it.
Wow.
I'm not buying it. Jaylen Brown had 30 points. It was a really nice night for him, 12 of 20 overall, 4 of 9 from three-point range, but a lot of tough shots. And this one feels like a little bit more results than process to me, where the broadcast at one point, this was the ESPN game, the broadcast at one point like tracks one of these contested jumpers that Jaylen Brown had to take, and he kind of goes around in a circle and then kind of steps back and then hits his fadeaway three-point. And it's like, all right, cool. That's awesome that you hit that once. And Jaylen Brown is a good, tough shot maker. But it kind of felt like that was Boston's entire offense. And if they don't have that, and to Corrales' point there too, if they're not making 21 3-pointers in a game, I still don't really know what it is. And I thought the Cavs were as much of a story in this game as the Celtics were. I thought they lost this game, frankly, more than the Celtics won it. Donovan Mitchell was nowhere to be found. This was a really disappointing game for Evan Mobley. I mean, against this front line for Boston, he should have been dominating, and Jared Allen. Neither of them did. But if Mobley's going to be this guy that Cavs fans are like, oh, maybe he could be a top 10 guy, he did not look like that tonight, Tony.
Cavs 2 national TV games this year have been not awesome. Their other 3 games have been quite good. So maybe that's the secret for Cleveland. But yeah, they need Mitchell to be really great. What was his injury right before the game? He popped up with something, which is never good. Like, that's usually a sign you're not going to play. So perhaps that's part of it. But yeah, they didn't have any sort of pop besides Jalen Tyson on offense. But the thing I think you are be missing, maybe, that was a horrible sentence. I'm so sorry to everybody who just heard me say that. Like, Derek White was bad, and the Celtics still like comfortably won this game. I think that has to matter for them as they try to figure out what their team is, how they can get better. Shout out to Sam Hauser, by the way. Hit his first 6 threes in 13 minutes. That's a crazy rate of threes.
As Krell says, the Celtics are just different when they hit shots. I don't know what makes that different for the Celtics and every other team in the league, but Celtics fans like to say it. Let's go to Minnesota, where Austin. Let's go to Minnesota, where Austin Reaves continued his ostentatious week. You like that? 51 points, 41 points 2 nights ago, and then tonight he finishes with 28 points and 16 assists. He also had the game winner after the Lakers gave up a 15-point lead with 6 minutes to go. Cool, fun ending to this game. Julius Randle gives the Wolves a 1-point lead with just a few seconds left in this game. Lakers have the ball in the final possession. Reaves calls Rudy Gobert up for a switch in the middle of the floor, then attacks him down the middle of the paint and gets off a floater at the buzzer. And the Lakers avoid a disastrous loss on a night that they were without Luka and LeBron. The Timberwolves also, by the way, were without Anthony Edwards. Here is more from Locked On Lakers.
This is Danny Kamenetsky, co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast. And the Lakers get a 116-115 win over the Timberwolves in Minnesota. Austin Reaves hits a buzzer-beating floater to seal the game after it looked like the Lakers were in danger of blowing a double-digit lead. Instead, Austin Reaves continues what has been an amazing heater to open this season. 28 points, 16 assists, only 3 turnovers, and it was part of a really balanced night for a shorthanded Lakers. 27 points from Jake LaRavia, 17 points for Rui Hachimura, 17 points and 10 rebounds for DeAndre Ayton, 15 for Dalton Connect off the bench, some signs of life from Dalton, and the Lakers are doing a really good job keeping their heads above water and actually succeeding during this period without LeBron James and Luka Doncic. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
Tony, almost a disastrous ending, though, to this one.
Yes, indeed. That's what the Wolves do. They're like the least quit team ever. I have Austin Reaves takes. Can I bomb some Austin Reaves takes?
Fire them off.
I'm very upset by the 3 comparisons to Lynn Sanity I've seen from Austin Reaves and the week he's having. Bro, Austin Reaves was already really good. Like, really good. Lynn Sanity was because Jeremy Lin was nothing, like not even on a team, and then was playing pretty good. And Reaves is obviously balling and having like an amazing week and winning games for the Lakers, 50-something, and then this. Like, give me a break, man. Like, he's really good. That's like insulting to me in some ways. Also, people talking about this game and like how awesome he was. Like, if he had missed that shot, he would have finished 8 for 24 and 3 of 11 from deep with 26 points and a 1-point loss. Like, yes, he's playing very well recently, but one shot is really, really, really boosting the value of this performance on his recent run of play.
You miss every shot you don't take, Tony. You know that. Come on now.
Great shot, to his credit. Awesome shot against a good defense, too. Splitting that double is hard to do when everybody knows you're going to be the guy who's shooting it.
It's so funny how you can go an entire game not doing that. And then when your team really needs you to do it, you just say, yep. And the broadcast, again, they knew it. They're like, yeah, they're going to call Rudy Gobert up into a high screen. Reeves going to attack him, and he's going to try to get off a shot. And it's like, you couldn't have done that more before? Like when you were up 15 with 6 minutes left and you didn't hit that one time? And Jared Vanderbilt, not Jared Vanderbilt, Jay McDaniels, I want to give him a shout out at this game because before Julius Randle hit the go-ahead shot at the end there, Jaden McDaniels hit a 3-pointer and then had a really nice cut on the baseline for 5 straight points from Minnesota to get back into a 1-possession game. And then and that set up Randle to attack Jake LaRavia in a very mean way, by the way, at the end. Randle saw LaRavia and was like, this is my matchup. And he never looked to pass that ball. And to his credit, he did score on him. But it was a fun ending to that one. But ultimately, the Lakers come out on top. Austin Reaves, heck of a week for him, though. heck of a week. He's putting together a little bit of an all-star campaign here, especially if
A
the
lot
other
of
guys
bit of
on
an
his team
all-star
isn't
campaign.
going. Yeah, the other guys on his team might not even qualify here, so he might be the one Laker. Also, a good game from DeAndre Ayton. We are going to move on. Some people had pegged Cade Cunningham as a dark horse MVP candidate before the season. Well, tonight he finally started to look like one. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. This is game night, every game, every night. Let's go to Orlando where the Pistons beat the Magic 135-116. The story of the game is Cade Cunningham, who shook off a wobbly start to the season and was the best player on the court tonight. Here's Khalil from Locked On Pistons.
Podcast, Khalil here. The Detroit Pistons did not start very hot in this game. It looked like it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. Cade didn't start off very hot in the beginning of this game, but boy, did that turn around. Cade ended up with a 30-point game, damn near a triple-double. Really woke up in the second half, especially after some trash talk from Paolo Banchero. Talked some trash before a free throw, missed both free throws, continued to talk a lot in that third quarter when the Magic were up. And that really woke up Tobias Harris and Cade Cunningham. They both came out, played extremely well, dominated in the second half. Pistons end up winning by double digits, subbing out their starters with around 3 minutes left, able to just bring in the end of the bench guys because of how well they played. Asar Thompson didn't have the greatest night, but they're not the greatest night. Ends up being a 12-point, 11 rebound, 6 assists, 6 or 7 assists block game. If that's a bad night for Asar, you leave with that now. Jalen Duren, great in this game. Dribble drives from the high post really helped the Pistons within the half court. He looked incredibly well on both ends.
If you want more Jalen Duren takes, you can go check out Locked On Pistons. I want to talk about Cade Cunningham. My four-word recap of this game, Tony. Cade good, Paolo bad.
Yeah, Cade was great. And it's, the Pistons need him to be great to win games like this a lot of the time. Like as Kuz describing, they really launch out in the third quarter and extend their lead. Like, not that the rest of their team was bad or anything, but until Harris got going, like Duncan Robinson was making threes and that's kind of it. And Tobias Harris wasn't really going. Asar Thompson was missing shots. Like their bench ball handlers have not been good. And then Cade's just like, yeah, who cares? Like, I'm going to have the ball every time and I'm going to get a shot that I like every play. He's so good at, kind of throughout a game, evolving how he's attacking specific players with his counters and things like that. He took 17 twos in this game. That's more shots, period, than any other player took because he's capable of getting good looks inside the arc all the time. He made 11 of those 17 twos. He's a beast, man. Like, if he ever gets, and he didn't even have a turnover in this game, like, these are the kind of games that you long for from him because if he can do this all the time, if he can get his turnover numbers in control, he's immediately a top 15 player, at least, like a 6'6" point guard. So this is the kind of beast he can be at his absolute best. And today, when he was on the floor, the Pistons were just absurdly better than the Magic.
They were. And what really stood out to me in this game, Tony, was the Magic last year. Their whole thing was, we're going to be more physical than you. We're going to play great defense, and we're going to kick the snot out of you. And I thought the Pistons were way more physical than the Magic in this game. And Philip Rossman-Reich over at Locked On Magic has been talking about this over the last week, where the Magic just generally do not have that same level of they're not bringing that same level of physicality this season. And you saw that, I think, so much. And that's another thing about the Pistons. They're also a physical team. They're mean. Cade Cunningham was talking trash. Ron Holland will fight anybody. Ditto for Isaiah Stewart. Ditto for Jalen Duren. Like they have a bunch of guys on that team. I love the physicality that they're playing with, and when you combine that with all the things that you're talking about with Cade, I would have. I think I did put him in our Locked On top 15 in my votes. I think I had him there. It was a little bit of a wobbly start to the year, but he looked really good in this one. But I think you, on the other side of this, I think it's time to start worrying about Orlando because it just doesn't feel like they have an identity.
I agree with that, which is really strange. Like, I think I was lower on them than most people. I mean, I still had them top 4 in the East, but like people were talking about 50, 52 wins, whatever. And Bane stunk in this game, right? He was 4 for 15. Of course, you're going to lose when a player who, is shooting that much misses that many times. But the thing that made them awesome 2 years ago was they were so good defensively, like 1 through 10. And they had this crazy bench group with like Jonathan Isaac and company that was just wrecking absolutely everybody defensively. And that's kind of faded away. That hasn't really been as much of a thing. So they're still a great defensive team, but it's not as potent on that end of the floor. And they're trying to make up for that with offense that still alarmingly has not come in these first 5 games that they've played. So they've either got to figure out how to get their defensive, to your point about identity, they need to get that back in some way with this team, or figure out how to score more. They shot 39% from 3 in this game and scored 116 points. For last year's Orlando Magic, that's like a guaranteed win. For this year's Orlando Magic, it's not. It's kind of weird that the pieces haven't fit the way that that it seemed like they would.
We had another fun ending in Phoenix where the Grizzlies beat the Suns 114-113. Another last possession finish after the Suns climbed back into this game to take a 1-point lead in the final seconds. But then Morant hits a floater to retake the lead for the Grizzlies. Devin Booker misses a tough fadeaway 3 at the buzzer, and the Grizzlies hold on. Let's throw it to Ben Garcia, who is at the arena with more.
Suns fall to the Memphis Grizzlies 114-113. Benjamin Garcia locked on Phoenix Suns. You know the drill. There's a lot of things to get to. This would have been the perfect Phoenix Suns victory. This would have been the most ideal version for a Phoenix Suns win. The type of game where they're scrappy, play really good defense for about 3 quarters, got a little dicey there towards the end, but they just couldn't hang on. And a part of that has to do with the Grizzlies are almost facsimiles with the Phoenix Suns in the way both teams are constructed, but they're just a little bit better. And the score box and the scoreboard shows that, 114-113. The last thing I'll say is, like, Devin Booker was good towards the end, but he's got to play more consistent basketball. 10 for 26 from the field, it's not going to cut it. That's not good enough. I appreciate that he didn't give up, looked really good towards the end of this game, but those last 2 possessions were abysmal shot-chucking scenarios that some is on Jordan Knott because he ran out of timeouts, but overall the Suns lose their 4th straight game in a row, and that is a little frustrating at this point in the season where you expected them to be a little bit better.
That's the Phoenix Suns take. I want to go back to the Grizzlies, and I want to go back specifically, Tony, to Morant, who looks great to start the season.
Great. He does. Joe Mullinax is giving us all the bird here at Locked On for not voting him higher. He let us know in the offseason.
He doesn't not really stop bringing it up.
And he should have, because Ja's been playing very well. 10 for 19 in this game. Very composed, like setting up the rest of his team, right? The Grizzlies don't have Desmond Bane. They're going to rely on Ja to be more of an organizer. And like, I don't know that he doesn't use it as much. Like, you don't see the athletic, like freakish plays from Ja Morant in the ways you used to, but he's really still channeled his speed and like that kind of stuff into being a brilliant blur of an offensive player. Like the game winner's just like, yeah, I can get right there easily. It doesn't matter who's guarding me. I can get to that spot and shoot a floater easily. And he just does it. He took the same shot the possession before. He just happened to miss, right? He's a really, really good player. And even being so reliant on him to do a lot, this Grizzlies offense can really score with, they just need some role players to splash in some jumpers and they can be in or win every game. That's exactly what happened today.
That final shot that Ja Morant hit was sick. It's a behind-the-back dribble in the paint into a floater over a 7-footer. And it just sort of happened, and it looked so easy to him. And I didn't really realize what happened until they showed the replay. I was like, did he go behind the back in the paint? Like, that is such a hard move to do in that moment, especially when you're down and need a bucket in that spot. He's been great. And when he's playing like this, the Grizzlies, I mean, they're really good, right? Like all of a sudden, Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't overextended as the number 1 scoring option, and he can kind of just do all the good Jaren Jackson Jr. things. And Jalen Wells is hitting shots, and Cedric Howard looks like one of the steals of the draft, and he's able to do. And by the way, also a snot factor guy willing to scrap it up with anybody.
I just saw him in person in Memphis for Pacers Grizzlies, and I was like, oh man, this kid's like, the 3 might not be this all season, but this kid's good. Like he's going to be a good player. We got to ask Ben Garcia a question. He said these teams are facsimiles. Who is Jaren Jackson on the Suns? That is not facsimiles at all. One team
That's what buddy. Come on,
One
man.
team has a top 3 defender who's an all-star level talent. That's a big thing to not have if you're going to try to be a copy of their team. Yeah, Devin Booker had some weird stuff.
Yep.
Mark Williams was awesome in this game. I think probably the best game he's played as a Sun. And he's mentioned something in there. Jordan Ott out of timeouts. I don't get Jordan Ott's last timeout. Did you watch crunch time of this game?
I did.
2 minutes to go. A jump ball is about to be called. There's like 2 seconds left on the shot clock on a Suns possession. He burns his last timeout to keep the ball. Like, even if, and they threw it in and turned it over. And like, that doesn't make the timeout worse, but like, you can't even get a good shot in that situation. You should just let the jump ball happen. I thought that was really weird.
And the problem is, when somebody asks about it post game, we'll never hear the answer because everybody's going to fall asleep halfway through his answers. Because he's the most boring press conference guy in the league.
Wow. That's not interesting to listeners, I don't think, but I would love to rank the most boring coaches. Either because they don't talk loud at all and you can't hear them, or because they don't say interesting things.
I'll tell you what. You could gripe with Doc Rivers all you want. In terms of press conferences, very entertaining. You're not falling asleep. You're not falling asleep during a Doc Rivers press conference. I was at Heat Knicks the other night. Mike Brown called out the Knicks beat guys because I guess they took an early flight and missed practice the day before. Which is also funny. Mike Brown also always ranks highly on most entertaining coaches. Jordan Ott has a lot to learn. We'll talk about a thrilling end. Or we already talked about that one. Thrilling end to Pacers Mavericks here next on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. What I love about Rippling is how it removes the bottlenecks and busy work that slows teams down. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use. It gives companies one source for truth for their people, data, and everything that they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at Rippling, rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Back again with Locked On NBA Game Night. Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Let's go to New Orleans as we wrap up the night where the Nuggets beat the Pelicans 122-88. And we can go in a couple of directions with this, Tony. On one hand, Nikola Jokic recorded his 4th straight triple-double to start the season. On the other hand, it's been a rough start for the Pelicans, who still haven't won a game. Well, let's start with Jokic. Let's start on a positive note. 4 straight triple-doubles for this guy. He just keeps doing things, Tony.
This one took him 3 quarters. That's pretty quick. That's very impressive. The Nuggets are a machine when he's good, and he's been great. And Jamal Murray's been not as great today, but like in general, much better to start this season than in some past seasons. Like, they're a buzzsaw when Jokic is this good, and Aaron Gordon stunk shooting threes tonight, but he's like made every other three he's taken this entire season. Like, they've got dudes this year, man. Their bench is actually good, and that helps Jokic so much that any combo of players on the floor, he's got 4 threatening dudes around him more often.
Meanwhile, it's been a very disappointing start for the Pelicans. Here's Jake Madison from Locked On Pelicans with more.
I don't think it's hyperbole to say the Pelicans are a disaster and maybe the laughing stock of the league right now. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. The Pelicans were down 6 at halftime to the Nuggets and ended the third quarter losing by 38 points. Everything about the Pelicans is a failure right now. New lead basketball executive Joe Dumars said this team would be competitive each night. Not the last 2 games. He doubled down on Zion Williamson, who had 9 points through 3 quarters and just made no impact in this one. He said the depth would boost this team. Not a bench player through 3 quarters was better than a minus 13. And the Pelicans traded next year's unprotected first round to the Hawks to draft Derek Queen, who played 6 minutes through the first 3 quarters in this one. I'm only saying the first 3 quarters because the game was over. We don't even need to talk about fourth quarter stats here. It is an utter failure by everyone associated with the team right now, and big changes, need to happen immediately. I've got more over at Locked On Pelicans.
Strong language there from Jake, Tony.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know what strong changes you can make on Halloween, basically, but they look bad. They look bad. Is Trey Murphy okay? Like, has he had a single good game yet this season? I probably have missed the Pelicans game, but like, he's got to be way better. Wes, this says a lot about their team. Why is DeAndre Jordan on this team at all and starting over Yves Missi? What is going on? It's so weird.
Very strange decisions by Willie Green in this one. There was a possession at the end in the final seconds where they needed a defensive stop, and they took Herb Jones off the floor, who is not only one of their best defenders, he's one of the best defenders in the NBA, and one of the more switchable defenders in the league, exactly the kind of player that you would want in a scramble type situation on the last possession. I don't really understand what's going on with Willie Green's rotations. They're kind of staggering Zion Williamson and Derek Queen all the time just to make sure they have one guy who's kind of a tweener and not really sure what his position is on the court at all times. I don't understand that. I torched the Pelicans on draft night after they made this trading away their pick next year to move up for Derek Queen in the first place. I don't get it. I don't understand the Jordan Poole trade for CJ McCollum. I don't get anything what's going on in New Orleans. So I do agree with Jake that changes need to be made. I also agree with you. Like, we're not even through October yet, and we're already here. And I just don't really know what you could do at this point, because it just feels like the roster is the roster, and I don't really know where you go from here. But I do know where we go from here. We go to the game that you covered for Locked On Pacers. The Mavericks win this one 107-105. A crazy ending to this, Tony. Take us through it.
Yeah, Pacers were down like 10 with 3-4 minutes to go. And you guys have watched the Pacers play games in the year 2025. That means that they're going to be right in it with a chance at the end. They make some threes with a two-way player, Ray J. Dennis, and Pascal Siakam hit some. And all of a sudden, they're down 3 in the final seconds. And the Mavs foul on purpose. So one free throw, Ray J. Dennis makes it. Second one, the on-purpose miss. Perfect execution. Pacers get the seal. Pascal Siakam tips out the rebound. Wide open 3 for Aaron Nesmith for the win. Aaron Nesmith, a 50, 40, 90 guy last year, missed all his free throws in this game, stunk to that point, could have been the hero anyway, and he missed it. He goes 2 for 16 in this one. So the Pacers clawed their way back, but the dreadful offense for them. One of their, they shot under 35%. Like, yeah, they're 0-4. Everybody knows why. They're super banged up, but this is one they could have had. The Mavs didn't even play that well, but they couldn't get it done. They even had a chance at the end.
That shot goes in 100 times out of 100 if this was last season.
Yes.
That's exactly the shot. The fact that the Pacers even did it again, I'm sitting there watching the end of this game. I'm like, really? They're gonna do this again? Is there just something about the uniforms? Did it have nothing to do with Halliburton?
Well, listen, I think every NBA fan is going to be happy to know the Pacers have played 3 clutch games this season and lost all of them. So the balance of the universe is being restored in some way,
I suppose. Meanwhile, another injury note in this game: Anthony Davis left early, did not return, dealing with even going into this game some tendinopathy in the Achilles area. Kind of takes a weird step, walks off the court. Something to monitor there. Other thing to monitor: the Pacers have a guy named Ray J.
Ray J. And his name is Raymond Patterson Dennis. So I should just ask him where the J comes from.
I would expect you to do that as a Pacers reporter. The Rockets beat the Raptors 139-121. Kevin Durant had 31 points on 19 shots. Jabari Smith Jr. looked really good in this game. 25 points for him. Hit some tough shots. 7 guys in double figures for the Rockets. Of course, it helps when you're playing the Raptors, who are not off to a good start. Tony, any notes on this one?
31 assists for the Rockets, given their lack of ball handling. That's very impressive and something that they need to have happen very often. They can generate good shots. They should. And I'm frowning because I was quite in on the Raptors. They had a sweet opening night. They kicked the Hawks' butt and have been very bad ever since then. So I'm not.
The one thing they're going to do is pressure the ball, and the Rockets, without a lead ball handler, tend to have trouble with that. To your point, they seemed okay with it tonight, but I guess it doesn't matter if you're going to pressure the ball if you're not very good at it. Let's go to Brooklyn, where the Hawks escaped a near loss to the Nets. Final score for this one, 117-112. The Nets were down 3 with a minute and a half left and had their chances late, but couldn't put together a decent possession at all. It was just a lot of Cam Thomas dribbling around and not doing anything. But you still can't feel awesome about this one if you're the Hawks. Here's Brad Rowland from Locked On Hawks with more.
Friends, my name is Brad Rowland. I'm the host of the Locked On Hawks podcast, and the Hawks went on the road and got a win on Wednesday evening. That is the bright side. Even if it was not a great performance, they won by 5 points in Brooklyn. They had a disastrous start to the game, down 12-0 against the Nets. But from that point forward, they were pretty good and got out of there with a win. Unfortunately, that was only the number 2 story around the Hawks on Wednesday, as Trae Young left the game in the first half with what the team is describing as a right knee sprain. He was collided with by Mo Gay, who was pushed over backwards into Trae Young's leg. Trae got up, tried to stay in the game, could not stay in the game, took himself out, went to the locker room, and pretty quickly was ruled out for the night. At this point, there's an MRI to come from what I am hearing, what's been reported out there. That will probably come on Thursday, but certainly that casts a long shadow over this win for the Hawks. Yes, it was a taking care of business moment for the Hawks. They had to have a win against this Brooklyn Nets team for sure. But in the end, the number 1 story by a lot is Trae Young, and certainly the Hawks will have trouble playing without him. Even when he's off the court, when he's playing, they have trouble without him. So it will be a struggle offensively with Trae unavailable at any point, but we'll get more details and much more to come, and full coverage coming on Locked On Hawks.
Last couple of games here. Let's go to Chicago, where the Bulls beat the Kings 126-113. Not competitive because the Kings are not very good. 27 points for Matas Buzelis, who looks great for Chicago early on. Tony, the Kings do not.
They traded their best and second best player to the Kings and then just completely smoked that team. I mean, that's hilarious, right? That is just hilarious.
Russell Westbrook, in a weird kind of lineup thing, was listed at forward in this game. So if you need to know the state of the Sacramento Kings, there you go. Finally, last game, Trailblazers hold on against the Jazz. They led by as many as 22 points in this one, so I turned it off, and then I checked on the score late, and the Jazz had cut it to 1 possession, and they were doing the free throw game, but it was too late. Drew Holiday, 27 points and 8 assists. That wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. For Tony East, I'm Wes Goldberg. This has been Game Night. Thanks for hanging out with us.